what are you doing with them? Really, what? That is what takes us back to soulmates. He's got to be that person that completes you. It makes you better. You know, like if all the time I'm with you in a relationship and you're making me feel bad about myself, reminding me how I've got a big nose or I've got you know, a big foot or all these imperfections that I've got. If you keep on reminding me of those things, that means that kind of person is even not the right one for you. Because if I have a big nose, I have a big foot or big this or small that, why are you with me? Go and be with that person that has got them. Yeah. So really, we shouldn't be people that settle. You are better than that. Whoever is listening, you're better than that. If the person you are with, you thought was the right person, and it turns out they are not, you can leave. Unless you are married. Because marriage changes the game, guys. It does change the game. You made your bed, you rest in it. It says till death do you part, except in cases of infidelity or you know, or cheating, like Shaz said. Yeah. Otherwise, I am one for staying in marriages because those are God ordained covenants that we cannot just wake up and say, I'm tired, I made a wrong choice. Because so many people choose. And then after that, they go back and say, like, oh, well, I don't know even where I was looking when I looked your way. You are my biggest mistake. You know, if a person says those words that are so painful to you, it hurts. And you imagine doing a lifetime with them. It is such a wrong thing. That means they are going to do other things and hurt you even more and more and more. So if you're not married, you leave. You leave.
Some comments.
Yeah, yeah.
Roger says, I believe every person has their soulmate.
Uh-huh.
And Jemmy 77 says, but from your example, you said that God saved him in your memory with distinct features that you later saw in the future in him. But what if you go through all these different types of relationships to prepare you for a destined soulmate? Like, let's say your soulmate wants a woman with kids and you have had kids from your past relationship. Some failed relationships in the past can make you have the features or qualities that your soulmate would want.
Hey, Lord. That's a deep one. That is a deep one. So, in other words, you're building mistakes over and over because you're preparing for your soulmate. Well, you'll be surprised. We all get what we deserve in life. Like I said, there are people who have taken on women or ladies or people who have women who have become stepmothers to children, yeah, in relationships. But I'm telling you, it's not a bed of roses. Yeah,
It's not, but
because
as Jimmy says, what if your partner can't have kids? Let's put it in that way. He can't have kids and maybe he's like went through something and he can't have children, but he wants a woman with children. And you're not a woman who has children.
so and you have to work
And
towards
you have
getting
and
to the
your
requirements of your
soulmates, but you both want kids, but he can't have kids. And you've had kids, but someone who has had kids before would go for that one and leave you alone because you
So my sound is okay? And I want it charged if possible. Sorry guys, we are trying to work on sound and no one had told me my sound had gone low unless you can be able to hear us very well, guys. But it looked like my sound had gone off. It will break and okay. I hope the sound is better now. Now, Jamie 770 has said that what if the partner you're looking for, your soulmate to be, is looking for someone who has got kids? Remember, he's not looking for someone who has got kids. He's got a condition, and it is God orchestrating things. That is why I say it is always good that we go before God and ask Him. Probably this is one person who has messed up their lives, having kids left, right, and center. Yeah, because before that they didn't know any better. Yeah. But when they go back to God and say, God, I know I made mistakes. Please get me the right person. If there is anyone out there, guess what God will do? He will make those two meet as an answered prayer, because it normally doesn't happen. A person who cannot have kids normally wants to adopt, and you adopt together. You understand?
But you would want to of
Yeah, but if you can't have, what can you do about it? So if it all gets back to getting to our knees and praying to God and asking Him that even if you messed up your life, you believe that He can give you someone right. Yeah. So those are the cases you hear. This man cannot have children, or lost his wife and children in the accident, and now he's just looking for someone who has already got a family. There are those cases because they are products of answered prayer. Is there any other comment?
Tisanya says, Jasper says, it is okay. The sound.
Okay, thank you, Jasper.
And Jeremy 77 says, for example, in the past relationships, they can break up with you for the same reason and you're a problem.
Normally, a person who makes you feel like you are a problem.
No,
Mm.
like she's saying, if you're with someone that's not your soulmate and you're clearly the problem, it's better to go into the next relationship or your soulmate relationship when you know you're the problem and you work to it or you work.
The thing is, we are a problem to people who are not meant to be with us, but with the right person. Like I say, you are accommodative, yeah, you are understanding, you're supportive. But if the person is not the one meant for you,
You're not
you
honest,
will meet together
loyal.
and both of you will be like fist fighting all the time because you're not with the right person. An example, if you get sugar, a kilo of sugar and another kilo of sugar, and mix them together, even when they are from a different shop, but they are all brown sugars, they mix very well, right? Regardless of where you got the other sugar. But when you get brown sugar and mix it with white, the white will stay white and the brown will stay brown. The two are not compatible. Like terms and unlike terms, yeah? So I think that answers what Jamie said. Guys, it's a live chat. Go ahead, drop your comments and let us know what your opinion is on soulmates. Do you think they exist? I need to hear from Rogers. You said, yes, you believe soulmates exist, but I need to hear your story or your opinion on soulmates. And also Lydia and
I do have a comment.
Cooper. Okay, yeah, can you read?
Lillian says, and some people may go through life without finding a soulmate.
That is very true. Very, very true. And the reason for that would be because we go ahead of God. I know scientists will say we don't allow chemistry, neurospani, something to kick in. But if you go ahead of God and you don't allow God to take over, you will go through life minus realizing. I always give it as an example that if God had intended that at 30 years is when you'd meet this right person, but then you choose to sleep with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, yeah, by the time you are 20, you are really ruined, if not, down with other diseases and not even able probably to go up to 30. Why? You missed a good thing. And then you just go through life regretting and wondering why but it was your making. So we can go on and just, sit back before we make decisions on commitments. Yeah. There are problems that I see here waiting to happen, especially if we are choosing partners and people we think are soulmates. But can you imagine I meet you and I say, oh my goodness, she's got that nose that I've always wanted. And her lips are sitting on just right. Yeah, so she must be my soulmate. Can you really get a person basing on features that can change anytime? Now, those are mistakes that we are making while we are making picking partners. You're saying they've got nyash, what people in Uganda call work. Yeah. Today I've got work, and tomorrow what seems like work is not there anymore, and it's the in thing now is big lips. So I have to change myself to become your soulmate. But really, is that me? I changed it. And now what you're looking at is the changed version of me that is bound to maybe go back at some point. Yeah. So if we can make choices basing on rational things, like, I've gone before God. I want someone who is kind. I want someone who is patient. I want someone who is loyal. These are things that will help us later relate. But you cannot relate with big busts. You cannot relate with big bums, big hips, big lips, or small noses, or whatever it is that we think is beautiful. We can't. So when we are making choices, especially us ladies and even the men, when the men are picking, when us ladies we are picking, we want those muscles. I want the six pack. Oh my goodness, he's this. Oh my goodness, he's got that deep voice. What happens if flu kicks in and twists up the voice a bit? Yeah. Then the love goes. Oh, he ceases to be your soulmate. Oh my goodness, he drives this car. He's cool. Yeah, he's giving. What happens when that happens? Yeah. So there are things that we base on when we are looking at soulmates. Oh my goodness, he knows how to kick football. He plays football very well. And I've always loved a person who plays football. Then what happens if he gets an injury and cannot play football anymore? Does he stop to be a soulmate? You see, there are things that we are basing on looking at soulmates that are really vague, and we should be looking at other things to make decisions. Is there another comment?
Um, Jasper says Lillian is right.
Mm.
Or if you don't, well, if you go through life and you don't find yourself. I also have a question on that. Do you think you can just be in the world and don't have a soulmate, even though you've not tried looking for anything? You've not tried anything, but you just don't have a soulmate.
I don't think, like I said, even for Adam, God saw and said he was alone. Yeah.
But the male proportions to the female proportions.
That is what we think. Because we think all of us, because we are black, we're supposed to get married to black people who are in Uganda, in your village, in your community, in your surrounding. We are so wrong. Where you are, it could be that the men in the area are not the ones made for you. I always believe that we are what we are because of what God has called us to be and to do. Yeah. You find yourself very tall because God has prepared, and that men in your area are short. And then you start thinking, I think I'm not meant to be with anyone. But simply because maybe someone that is supposed to marry is in Sudan or is in Korea somewhere, but is this tall person in Korea. But we always limit God when we look at the scope of our settings. Yeah. Where you are, there are very few people. Yeah. Now, the person I got married to, I didn't grow up with him. I didn't know him from Adam, but he was out there. Now I was hanging out with white people. I thought it is one of those white guys that I was supposed to get married to. You see how the dynamics work out? But then God had intended that is someone black, not even them. So if those whites were few, mine was black. You understand? So for everyone out there, if we trust God, because he saw Adam and Eve and said Adam was alone, that means God sees and is very much concerned about our loneliness. If we are alone, he doesn't want man. That's why the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone. And so he made a partner, a helper. Yeah. That means for everyone God sees, he sees that Jadine is alone and it's the right time and she has preserved herself. She trusts me to bring the right person. Now let me bring him, or let me take her to him. And then you find yourself in Korea. And that is where your soulmate is coming from. Yeah. So really, I believe soulmates are out there. Any other comments?
Jamie says, let's say you just naturally don't like sharing. She's still on the point of past relationships, and you can get to a past relationship and to meet. your
Mm.
soulmate. Let's say you just naturally don't like sharing, even since childhood, but no one told you about it. But you learn from the past relationships and change.
And you think in relationships people share?
No, not like she said, for example. And yes, you do share.
Now, there is a way we see relationships. Are we seeing it as a training ground where you are training to become something?
You're training to become something, but you try. You do try.
Do you know you don't have to train or try if you wait on God's timing? This person comes. I believe in the right time with the right person. I know we can make mistakes, but it goes back to the drawing board. Who is it behind the wheels? I gave an example of a car. However beautiful it is, it cannot drive itself. It cannot service itself. It cannot fuel itself. It needs someone to fuel it. Yeah, to start it, to service it, to take care of it, or even to drive it. So same applies to us and God. He created us and we are that beautiful car. Guess what? We need him. He is the sole owner of our lives. We need him to guide us. Like the car, however beautiful, needs someone to drive it from one place to another because that's what it's created to do. But it needs God. It needs the driver, to drive it. So same applies to us. Even when it comes to relationships, we go before him. Let's not take him out of context and be like the philosophers who think we were four-legged and so we waste our time looking around for that other creature that was taken off. Yeah. And also, like the is it the Hindu who believe in reincarnation that we die and come back looking for those partners who are supposed to be? No, it is God behind it all.
But in some relationships, I've seen people do say he feels familiar. She feels familiar. Even though I've never met the person, the person feels familiar. They feel like they've known them.
Yeah, there's that is also part of that feel that you
Would
get.
you say that would be reincarnation?
No, no. It is someone you feel so much comfortable with, at home with, that you feel like,
Oh no, like you just met this person, though, like maybe in a conference meeting or at not at like at university, in the office, at a coffee shop, and you just see this person without even talking
and
to
you
them,
feel like you know them.
and you feel like you know them,
But
you've
knowing
never
them,
met
knowing them doesn't mean they are your soulmates. You get it? You can
No.
feel like I feel like I've seen that person somewhere, but really that's all it is. You've probably seen them somewhere, but it does not mean they are your soulmates. That just because you've seen them somewhere or you know them from some place, that you should get into a relationship with them. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Can we have some comments? Lillian says the question is, how would you know that they are the soulmates when you meet them?
I know. How do you know this is my soulmate? Me, like I say, I'll give my own point of view. Yeah, you can never know a person is your soulmate unless you have put it always before God. That's why I say we cannot take God out of context. If you've been praying to God, He will make sure you know He's the one.
What if you're
He,
atheist, or
well, then
you don't believe in God, or you don't have a good relationship with God?
People who don't believe in God, for starters, don't believe so much in relationships. And if you hear them talk, they don't believe in having children because they don't believe in God, and God is love.
But what if
God
they
is the
do
author
believe?
of relationships and marriage. So if they don't believe in God, chances are they do not believe in long-term commitments. They believe in the strangest of things. They live for the moment. But if you are one that believes in God, again, you go back to your knees. Even when you've made mistakes and you're like, God, please show me the right person. I know I made mistakes before. In the past, I went out with the wrong people, but show me who the right person is for me. And let our encounters be ordained by you so that you meet this person. And trust me, either you meet them in a dream or you meet them in person, and they will be exactly. I know of this couple who met. The lady had had some ailment in the stomach, and they told her that she could not have children. So because of that, she was dating some guy before, and then she said the moment she found out she couldn't have children, she disconnected herself from the guy because the guy had traveled to the US, and the guy was not hearing from her a lot. And he even sent a phone to his one of her friends so that he can find out what is going on. And the girl told the friend that I know I can't have children, but I'm just disclosing this to you. I don't want you to tell him. And that is the reason why I'm disconnecting myself from him because I know he will want children at some point that I can't give. Yeah. So for that, I'm going to tell you, please tell him to forget about me. Tell him I had an accident and died. Now, the man could not take it. He stayed in America for about 5 years, and then once he had settled his papers, he came back to Uganda and started looking for her. She had moved house and went with her parents somewhere, and they moved to the village. The man came, they first of all sent her an invitation letter. They invited the parents to come for the introduction ceremony, like those we do in Uganda. Now, the parents said this man must be really bad. How can he know this lady liked him, but then send an invitation letter to him, inviting him to come for the introduction ceremony? But yet the man had intended that even in that state, if she came to the house, she would know that he's there and there's a way it's her he wants to marry. But the girl refused to come. So the man came himself and delivered the letter because first they sent messages and she wasn't responding. Then he came to the house and found her. And then found out that her problem was she's actually alive, but her problem was she couldn't have children. And the man said, I don't care. I love you. And it's you I want after 5 years. Yeah. But the accident she had that had caused her not to have children also had cut off her one of her hands, and she saw she couldn't. There is no way she could face the guy. But the guy saw she had no hand and no uterus and still married her. So really, even when we are not looking perfect, the right person will really be accommodative of us or will love us the way we are.